Hello, my name is Karina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now. Hello, everybody. What about extortion? What does that word mean to you? What does it make you feel like when you hear that word? And what have you ever felt like you extorted yourself on some level? Or were you ever extorted at any time in your life? I know it's like such a weird word and it has so many connotations. For me, I think about all sorts of mafia kind of things or scary things or people getting abducted and people like bribery and corruption. So that is the topic of our beautiful segment today. And of course, this is Karina, the BreakFear podcast. And of course, with my awesome guest, Dino Miliotis.
Hello, Karina.
Let the games begin. Hello, Dino. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How about you? So the subject, extortion. Perfect.
So what does it mean to you, Dino?
Wow. You know what? I think this is a cool subject, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you're right. People think right away, extortion, right? It's a bad thing. It's illegal. It happens to you. The mafia connotation, mob ties and crime and all that stuff. And yeah, that is, of course, extortion. But this is such a cool subject because extortion means a lot of other things too that we don't really realize. I mean, we may call it something else, but it truly is or feels like extortion. And I just want to tell you, like the first podcast that we did, Break Fear, right?
Yes.
Shows you what a slow learner I am. I'm just like, okay, break fear. That probably means like I was in rehab, I wrote a book, and look at me, I'm not afraid anymore. That's it. That's the show. But then somehow we managed to talk about things that stem from fear. Yes. And I don't know how many episodes this is, 14, 13. I stopped counting.
Yes.
But all enjoyable, but all truly different subject matters. And so, your subject, your title, Break Fear, Find Freedom, is really powerful. And it encompasses a lot more than what I think people realize, right?
Yes.
So, I'm back. So I'm very, very excited about that and new digs, new surrounding. But I still do these deep dives. And it's really funny because you're bringing up a subject that somehow kind of reminds me of when I was at the very awkward age of 13 years old. Okay.
Well,
my brother,
okay.
No, believe it or not, I was 13 once.
Wow.
So my brother and I have a 3-year difference, and it was never noticeable as much as when I was 13, right? Because he just turned 16. He got his driver's license.
Yes.
He's ready to drive. And I remember this clearly where my dad and I would always be the ones that would go and buy a vehicle. And my dad was going to give his vehicle to my brother to start driving, and he was going to buy a new one. So it was a Pontiac Sunbird. It wasn't, nothing glamorous or anything like that, but Pontiac was still around back then. So I remember going into this dealership with my dad, and the salesman, was showing us the car. Oh, it's in midnight black. It's got radial tune suspension. It's got AM, FM radio. It's got the undercoating. And it reminded me of the movie Fargo, where the guy's like pushing that True Coat. Now you got to have that True Coat on the car, like that. All these features and benefits, which honestly are meaningless. And my dad's like, 4,000 out the door with taxes and everything. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, And I, at 13, got caught up in the moment. You know what I mean? I was sucked in by the sales tractor beam because, you understand sales before that, but really 13, that thing that happened was like the most memorable thing that stuck in my head. And I remember feeling so uncomfortable and anxious that if I was an adult and I had a checkbook, I would write the damn check right there. But no, my dad, no. Well, the car may not be here on Monday. The guy told my dad. Yes. And he says, well, if it's not here. And I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? You know what I mean? We're going to lose the car. So we walk out of the dealership and we start walking down the block to get to the car. And I remember like thinking, I was like disappointed at my dad. I'm like, oh, Dad, you blew it. I couldn't believe it.
Yes.
And not 30 seconds after I was thinking this, you see the car dealer run out the showroom door and yelled at my dad, okay, 4,000. I couldn't believe it. And that was something that just kind of stuck in my mind. And primarily what stuck in my mind was this getting sucked into the moment, right? Hypersensitive moment where I felt in my own world like I had to act on something, even sometimes, I guess, against better judgment. And do it. But not my dad. He just simply walked away. And by the way, by walking away, he diffused the pressure and the situation. Obviously, he was much older than me. And, logic is, they made more than one car. And I'm pretty sure there's in Chicago 100 different dealerships at the time where you could go and buy a similar car. It was nothing. But for me, it was everything. Okay. I remembered that since then. And I adopted that, believe it or not, in my professional life. Okay. Some people call it diffusing the situation. Some people call it eliminating feeling like you're exploited. Some people call it the reverse. Some people call it the takeaway, whatever it is. But I started using that in my professional life. In my personal life, I will be the first to tell you, full disclosure, later on in life, I never haggled on a car. And I was fully sold by myself before I even walked in the showroom door. So I was the easiest customer for a salesman because I never negotiated on price. And the cars I was looking at, you don't negotiate on the Rolls Royce. You probably can, but I didn't care. I wanted the car. But so extortion to me means maybe something different than the illegal aspect. And if you think about it, there's all sorts of feelings like that. I feel like I'm extorted if I went into a situation where my friends, let's say, were drinking, right? And they're like, come on, have a drink. And I'm just like, I want to be liked. I want to be part of the group. Okay, just one. I would never do that. But I'm just saying that in the past, there have been times where, we all do that. Let's face it. And it's basically the fear of not being liked or not being accepted. That's kind of an extorting feeling. It doesn't have to be an illegal feeling, right? But there's also other things that are self-imposed types of extortion, I think. And it's really easy, right? Okay, so we're not talking about breaking the law per se, right? So it's not a technically illegal act of extortion. But what we're talking about is bending the rules, cutting the edges, maybe a white lie, maybe over exaggerating or overstating something, anything that puts you in a situation where you're more afraid of being exposed than not.
Okay. I'm liking that. So how does that, sorry to interrupt.
I know, by the way, I love this. Just drop a subject and then we go at it. I love this. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, so how, for me, when I think about that subject, and I relate, I don't relate, but I can see the picture of this 13-year-old. I mean, you're 13, you're very impressionable, right? Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how you've taken that one little event in your life, and you create multi-million-dollar businesses, right? Mm-hmm. Which is it, we know that happens. So how did you change? How would you change? Did you ever do that to yourself? So did you ever extort yourself? Now, I don't know if that's extortion we'll leave that at it, but did you ever turn that around and extort yourself at a point where you said, if you don't do this, then you are going to not get that? No, that kind of thing. Excuse me, sorry about that. In that kind of event, or did you ever put your son and say to your son, you know what, if you don't do this, I won't give you that? Or if you do this, then you are going to be like, then it's going to be the end of the world, or something like that.
I've done. I mean, who hasn't done that? Everybody does. Yes. It's like the carrot and the stick thing. Yes, what I'm talking about is maybe I'll say this saying first. Okay, you can't extort an honest man. I don't know who told me that in the past, but think about it. What do you have over somebody who is morally honest, ethically bound, has standards, you know what I mean, doesn't break the law? I mean, we're not talking about a Boy Scout or somebody with a halo over their head, but I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Yes. Well, someone that's got straight, bright lines and straight boundaries. And
if you walk with that character and you walk with that righteousness, let's say, there's really nothing that somebody has per se over you. Now, we're assuming that everybody's good. I think that inherently there's a lot of good in even people we consider bad. It's just, how do you get it out? Yes. But there's a bad element, there's an evil element to a lot of things, and we have to be aware of that. That's just life. But how can they harm you if there's nothing they can hold over you? Is I guess what I'm saying.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So just like my father, I mean, it's maybe a bad example, but just like my father, he's in this hypersensitive chamber of buy. And he's probably thinking to himself, I don't know if it's financial, or I don't know if it's like, well, did I look enough? Is this the right one? Should I wait, keep looking? For whatever the reasons, he knows what he's about to get into would be wrong, unless it was the price that in his head made him comfortable making that purchase. And instead of sitting there and worrying about this extra pressure and making a decision now, he diffused it by just walking away. And I think that's amazing. The thing that I'm trying to say is that there's all kinds of extortions in life, right? A salesman who over-exaggerates his sales numbers to get a bonus. Somebody sees that. Now they got it over your head. Well, you know what? You got to do me a favor. You got to help me out, or you know what? I can get you fired. Why? Because the guy did something wrong. But if he didn't do anything wrong, what do you have over them? Right? We put ourselves in situations where we extort ourselves, if you really think about it. If your moral compass is straight and you don't break the rules, you could find loopholes, you can bend, but never break. Okay.
Yeah.
And you're walking the walk and you're being righteous and you're trying to do more good than harm. What would somebody possibly have over you that would consume people and make them miserable? Like last week, we talked about my cousin in a business where, he was consumed by his employees' issues. This is another type of consumption. You're consumed with being exposed. You worry about things constantly. Do you know how much work that takes?
Yes.
Do you know how much energy that exhausts?
Exactly.
That energy that you could be doing other things with. And so I find that there's fear in that when the fear of being exposed. It could be this. It could be, I'm one persona, on this podcast. And then when I leave, you don't want to see the other side, but somebody takes a picture of me and I'm drinking a bottle of wine or something. They got something over me. This could ruin my career. This would ruin my image. So image too. You can be extorted by your own image. You create this persona that you want everybody to believe and like and accept. Yeah. But you're off camera when the lights turn off. You're nothing like that person. So yeah, I call it extortion because it feels like extortion to me. You see, it's probably not the right word. But...
Okay, yes, it's a big word, but and it has all the implications, like we said. So, what does it feel like? What does extortion feel like to you?
It sucks. It's look, today. I will tell you that the worst thing that could possibly happen is that you're exposed and it's embarrassing. And you know what? And the world still turns and you get over it. Right. But at the time, at the moment, just like my dad was in this like sales vacuum where you have to buy now, buy today, or you may lose it. It feels like your whole world is going to end. It feels like it's collapsing. Oh my God, they're going to find out. And then, your world has come to an official end. And I've done this throughout my career many times. I'm not going to lie to you. And I think a lot of people, if they reflect, may have been put in similar situations, self-imposed situations. But, it's just one of those things where you have to find a way to diffuse it. So in the case you were talking about, I either fess up and say the truth, or I walk away, or I right my wrong, and then there's got to be a way to let go of that pressure because it will consume you. I mean, I remember many sleepless nights where I was just so worried. I was just so worried about, I'll give you another example. It probably doesn't fit, but what the hell, we'll do it anyway. Okay, so. Before, in the very beginning of my payroll career, I started out as a broker. And just not to overcomplicate things, what I would do is I would form relationships with small to mid-sized companies who had, let's say, 50 to 1,000 employees. And I would talk them into having their employee payroll outsourced to one of these payroll companies like Paychex or ADP when it was around, more common today than not. And I would forge relationships with these payroll companies so that if I brought them these clients for servicing, they would pay me a commission. And I struck such great relationships with these companies that they would pay me a lot of commission, okay? Enough for me to enrich myself, but also to include other grassroots brokers who would rather give their business to me to place than do it themselves because I made more money. Okay. So it was a very cool dynamic, right? And I was like the number one broker in the country, and I was having a lot of fun. Well, one of these payroll companies that was located in Ohio, they switched management. They got bought over. And so the guy that I was used to dealing with, who was paying me this great commission, was no longer there.
Okay.
And this new person came into charge, and she called me and she says, "Hi, is this Dino Miliotis?" I said, "Yeah, speaking. How can I help you?" "Well, I just wanted to let you know that the person that you were dealing with is no longer here. I represent this corporation, which just bought out this payroll company. And I'm looking at your numbers here. And I honestly think that we're overpaying you on commission." I'm like, "But that's the deal." And they're like, "Well, things are going to change, and they're going to change rapidly." I'm like, "What are you talking about? We don't think we need you anymore because we're servicing the clients. And, thank you very much. I see you've made a lot of money over the years, but it's time for us to just take them over. And why don't you walk away?"
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let me just throw in, if I didn't have such a great relationship with my clients, and if I didn't price things fairly with them, And if I wasn't straight with them on the relationship, and yeah, I was making commission. I was never embarrassed to say that to my clients. Things may have been different, but I was all those things, and that's why they loved me. So she actually, this was in Ohio, this group of clients that I had was in Chicago, where I lived at the time. She took a flight to Chicago for a week, and she wanted to go to every single client that was being serviced, my clients, and basically approach them and say, hey, this is what you're paying with Dino, and because this is Dino's commission, and this is what you're going to be paying without Dino. And obviously it's a huge savings.
Yes,
now,
yes.
Anybody that wouldn't have this kind of a relationship with their client, they'd be like, yeah, less money, perfect. There were 100 clients. Not one of them was swayed. Not one wanted to leave me. They all said, you know what, move me to another payroll company. This girl's crazy.
Right.
And she called me up and she says, okay, what do you want? And I said, what I wanted is just peace and just to continue getting paid the commission that I'm accustomed to, that I've earned. Yes. But at this point, because of what you did, I'm moving everybody, and I'm moving them all at the same time, which is unheard of. It's just insane. But it was one of many times I did that. And I was able to do that because I was very straight with my clients. I never pussyfoot around with my clients. I never redirected a question. I never ignored what they were asking. And a lot of times I'd be the first one to tell them, you know what, you should actually be thanking me because you're paying a lot less than you should be. So, don't get all huffy on prices and stuff like that. But they all knew I was making money, but I was also saving them money. And it was a win-win relationship. Yes, and it was one that was built on trust and being direct and forthright. So I could have easily been extorted. How? Well, if I wasn't honest and ethical and moral, right, all these guys would be exposed to the truth that I'm making X amount of commission, which could be alarming and catastrophic. I could have lost 100 clients.
Yes,
which
yes.
probably represented $1 million in commission for me, right? But I didn't lose them. I didn't lose them because that never happened. So that's what I mean. You cannot corrupt an honest man.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Imagine though, if you could, I don't know what I'd do. I wouldn't be sleeping at night. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm going to get all these hate calls and I'm going to be getting blasted left and right. And I'm going to be losing clients and it's going to be all over the internet. And, so do you see how those things could have rippling and devastating effects to somebody's psyche?
Because, yes, of course.
And it all starts with your mind. I mean, there's so many more things that I want to concentrate on than what I said to who, when I said it, how I said it, and am I going to get caught?
Yes.
So that's what I mean about extortion.
Okay, so let's just unpack what I'm seeing here. First of all, there's so many lessons in the story. Probably the first one is how you need to develop those relationships. Mm-hmm. And only by relationships do people trust you and like you, and it's obvious that you are going to get commission because that's how you have to eat and you have to also live, right? So that's an obvious thing.
And that's why, not to interrupt you, but how many times have you heard in some kind of showroom setting, the person that's helping you says, don't worry, I don't work on commission. You know how, I mean, come on. Really? Then what are you doing here? Why are you following me around everywhere I go? Because you just like doing it? Because you're making commission. Just say it. You know what I mean? Sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, but that's so. That's what the next thing I was going to say. It's about the openness. So you need to be open and say, okay, this is the relationship we're building. We like each other, right? We like each other. We work really well together. And you listen and you give your client what the client needs. So the client. And also you open and say, okay, you know what? I am earning commission on this. It's obvious. I'm earning X commission and you know that. But because you're giving them what you do and you're honest and you're open and these are just my thoughts, right? And you're honest and you're open and you're saying, look, this is the way it is. And you holding that client, right? You're holding them and you're giving them everything you want. You're serving them.
Yeah.
It turns out right. And that's why you can't have someone just coming in and whirlwind like this woman did and try and break that bond.
But she had every right to.
Yes,
it was her
of
company.
Course. Of course she
but
did.
Never underestimate the power of a good broker. You know what I mean? And here's the thing. What I found later on when I got comfortable and my business was stable and it wouldn't go like this, you know, in the beginning, everything's just good months, bad months.
Yeah.
But price is important, okay?
Yes.
But more important than price is service.
Exactly.
You know, taking their call, not avoiding their call. Taking a call when they're upset or irate, either with me or the payroll company that I put them with.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And those are things that a lot of people don't want to face. I would be in their face every week, either by phone or in person. And this is before I went national and grew that bit. I mean, I had 100,000 clients. This was just 100.
Right.
Okay. But I managed to do it because I knew that these people needed constant reaffirmation, that there's problems that happen on a daily basis, there's situations, and let's not discount the personal thing. Do you know how many owners would call me just to shoot the breeze and tell me about a bad day or something that went wrong at home? You know, typically I should be like, you know, this isn't my problem, but it is my problem. You know, I want them happy. I mean, we'd share ideas. I bring up something that I think would have made their company better. I mean, I was always above and beyond what I'm typically supposed to do. And it paid off because in my 20-year reign on the payroll industry, the average time a client was with me was 12 to 14 years.
Wow. That says a lot, right?
Which is unheard of. So let me just put it in perspective. In the payroll business, you make commission every week when employees' payroll runs.
Right.
So if I have somebody on for 12 to 14 years, it's the most maintenance-free relationship you've ever had. All you got to do is socialize. That's the way I looked at it.
Exactly.
Right? And if you socialize and you create a great bond and everything, it's literally almost unbreakable. I mean, don't take it for granted. But it really is kind of like pretty stable. And so for that whole reign, you know, I'm making residual commission week after week after week. All I have to do is add on to make more or just keep it the same to make the same. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Right.
Nobody's going to break that bond. I don't care if you, when I was on it, I was on it. I mean, you know, you could go there and take a crowbar and try and pry the relationship I had with my clients. It wouldn't work because I was a friend. I was a broker to them. I was an advisor. I was a counselor. I was all the things all wrapped in one. You just can't find that stuff anymore. So I had these buttons that said, "You've been overserved." and I would give each new client a button. Because I'm like, you know what? You want to talk about service? You're going to be overserved. And I gave him a button. You've been overserved. How's that? Very arrogant.
No, but I think that's what you need to do. You need to. Now we'll go back to the extortion. So if you weren't open and honest with your clients and you behaved like one way, like you were saying, one way with one client, and then you spoke from one client, you spoke about the other client, and it just becomes messy, or you lied about your commission or whatever it was, right? First of all, if you know the old adage that says if you're a liar, you need to have a very good memory, because you'd never be able to keep track of all that. Then, of course, you'd have the sleepless nights, and then you would have she could have come in and extorted you or tried to. You know, I mean, I know we're using a big word for something that's not so dramatic, and she could have just take
but it was but Karina, in my world, it was dramatic at the time. You're talking about somebody that wanted to take my $1 million a year commission away from me for no reason other than spite and stinginess.
Yes.
Not
yes.
understanding that the reason I am the best broker in the country was because I bring in business. So don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Exactly.
Now,
exactly.
It took bravery to stand up to her. I could have just said, hey, can't we make a deal? How about paying me? But
No,
I believe
no.
so strongly that you're one of many payroll companies I have a relationship. So I have choice.
Right.
I have enough power and pull to move all of my clients at the same time with a simple phone call and my first name. I don't have to give a last name. Dino, oh, he's on the phone. Let me take this call. Who do you think you're messing with here? You know what I mean? I mean, this was my livelihood. So yeah, to me, even today, I'm passionate about it. That was extortion. I'm going to take your clients because we're paying you too much. What do I do? Just say, okay, well.
No, of course not. But a lot of people would do that. So that's also very exciting when you stand up and you stand your ground and you say, no, this is not how. But that's because you were honest and open and you built that relationship with your clients.
Right.
Right.
And then the standard, the word travels fast, trust me. So when that little escapade failed, and when I moved all my clients to another payroll company, word traveled everywhere.
Yes.
Like, don't mess with this guy's clients because he can move them in a second. So, but let's talk about my extortion, if you want to call it. And I think I shared this with Michael in some notes last week. By the way, thank you guys, all of you, for sharing comments. I love that. I mean, it's just great to see that there are comments coming from everywhere.
Yes.
And the views that are going up. I love it. So I'll talk about the views at the end. But
it's very exciting stuff.
So check out my extortion, because I did learn some more when I was 13. I would eventually work with these payroll companies where I made it so easy for them to accept business from me. See, understand that they had inside telemarketers, right? People that would call different companies and, hey, would you like to save money on payroll? And would you like to save money on workers' comp? Mild success at best, right? All of a sudden, somebody like me comes in and says, what do you have these guys for? You're paying them $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year. They're taking up space and calling nobody. If you ask me, I can give you 100 clients tomorrow like that. You want 10? You want 1,000? And they're like, they're all competing for my business, right? Eventually, I made it very easy for them to do business with me. So easy that in most cases, the payroll companies that I started working with, my business represented 80 to 90% of their business. 80 to 90%.
Yeah.
If I left, if I got upset, if I didn't like the way they're doing business, they're out of business. Imagine having 80 to 90% of your business pulled at the snap of a finger. So that's kind of extortion too, I will say. Okay,
it is,
so
right.
It goes both ways, right? But you learn that power of leverage, and you learn the power to be able to diffuse those situations as well. So what seems scary initially, oh my God, I'm going to lose all my clients, is eventually not scary when you understand that dynamic. And I credit that cheesy sales guy back when I was 13 years old with my dad for teaching me this. It was the first time I saw something amazing because it made me feel different. I never felt like that before. I'm like, and you like I say, you walk outside, you take a couple breaths or whatever, or a day passes and you get out of the ether and you're like, what the hell am I doing? But at the time, it just seems so real. Right? So it's little things, little nuggets of information like that seem meaningless at the time that they're happening. But somebody who's just ultra curious like I am will examine them. I mean, I'm 56. I just thought about this episode when I was 13. Now that we're talking, okay? But how appropriate. And it still has an impact on my life. So
yes.
It's really good to soul search like that, because a lot of these lessons that just you don't think twice about them. Then when you go back and you look back, they're just so damn obvious. You're like, of course. You start understanding what makes you tick.
Right.
And I think that's awesome.
It's very awesome. And to think, well, it's many times there's just one little thing like that happening, one little experience that just changes your life and changes the trajectory of your life. So you'll have, like for you, it made you this powerful, great salesperson and create relationships and all that. But what about the woman that's sitting at the beach with her costume and someone walks past and says, "Oh, you're so fat"? That also will just change her life totally, right? So it's quite interesting how powerful these, and she won't remember why she has a problem of being overweight, for example.
Right.
She doesn't know. And that's why it's so important to find those little nuggets, and that just changes everything. Mm-hmm. So that's very exciting. And I just want to go back to that story. And I'm thinking about how your dad negotiated with this salesman, right? And I'm thinking he probably was just having the time of his life doing that.
I think so. I mean, my dad was always frugal, but at the same time, think of the man, right? And I wrote this in my book, but I describe him like he never made. He was a school teacher for over 40 years. He never made crazy money or stuff. They were just, slow, progressive increases in income. But for the most part, I mean, he was, at the time making like maybe $30,000 a year. He was very frugal. He saved his money, but anything he wanted, he had. Okay, which I still don't understand how he did it. You know what I mean? 30 grand. But he had a point. I learned a lot from him, even after his death, thinking about how he was all his life. And so one of the things is that when you're comfortable in your own skin and you're comfortable with what you have, you don't get swayed as much. So, he was very sure of what he wanted. He was sure-footed. He knew that we had to get a car, but he knew in his head, this is all I'm going to pay, either because of a budget or because mentally that number stuck in his head. And he would always do it. Now, would he have the time? Did he have the time of his life? I'm sure he did. But he didn't even break a sweat. It was like nothing to him, just walking out that door. And I admired that, so much that I adopted that for the rest of my life. It's pretty cool.
It's very cool. And again, we'll go back. I'm just going to reiterate what you said about being powerful enough. Powerful has also a lot of connotations, but I'm talking about internal power, where you're so powerful within your own skin. You just know and love yourself so much that you can accomplish and do anything.
Right.
And that's such a powerful, beautiful place to be.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
you hit it on the head. I mean, all this stuff, the different subject matters that you have, I think it's wonderful. Again, I'm a slow learner. It took me 14 episodes to figure out the nature of the name of your show, right? But it stems so many things. I mean, one day we'll talk about the fear of death, because I've gone through some recent ones. But there's fear in everything we do, if you really look at it. And we can either allow it to consume us, or we could just figure out how to handle it. But just, it's never going to go away. There's always going to be fear. It's just what you do with it. So some people that don't seem afraid, maybe they learn how to deal with it. You know what I mean? So, but some people that aren't that anxious, that won't allow themselves to feel extorted, that won't box themselves in a corner, that don't care so much about what people like. Will I be liked to their detriment? You know what I mean? I mean, there comes a point where it's like, look, I don't care if you don't like me. I mean, I wish you did, but if you don't, that's your choice. But you're not going to I mean, you're not going to ruin my day. Not everybody's supposed to like me. You know what I mean? And that's okay. I don't sit there and say, excuse me, may I ask why you don't like me?
No, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
However, that doesn't work for everybody, because it's funny that I've been doing I'm working on some projects, also doing a lot of internal work as well. And it always comes up about growing up. It's always what will the people say if you do this? What will the people say if you do that? And you can relate, right?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I think, and you start becoming like, oh, what will the people say? And then one day, you wake up and you think, but who are these people?
Right.
Who are they? Like, why am I giving my power away to these people? And you need to become aware of that. And
That's
one day when
thing.
you can say, you know what, I don't care what you people say. This is who I am. I want to wear this. I want to have my hair like this. I want to, whatever I want to do, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do whatever it is. I don't care what you think. It's very freeing.
It is freeing. And, also think of this. These people that you're so concerned with, what they think, is any one of them paying your bills? If the answer is no, who cares?
No, they don't care about you anyway.
It's all judgment that we're afraid of. Let's face it, we're afraid of being judged. I don't know where that comes from, obviously, but we're afraid of being judged. It's like the most devastating thing to people. And, I think in the long run, people judge you during first impressions, unfortunately, but, okay, everybody does. But in the long run, I think people judge you over time, So if you did something, you made a mistake or, whatever, I mean, that's just one snippet of your life, right? Yeah. Over time, you're not going to be judged for that little thing. You're going to be judged for, the whole scope of your life. And so people just get so weirded out about just one little moment, which is just one blip in your life. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. There are people who have gone to jail, okay, that have been disgraced by society and the media. And then years later, you see them on ESPN or some news station. Okay,
right?
How does that happen, right? So things pass, and when you understand that things pass, it just you understand that this self-imposed pressure cooker that you put yourself in for whatever the reason, you're putting yourself in that pressure cooker. Nobody else. Nobody else is. So you're making yourself miserable for no clear reason, right? Other than the what ifs and what do people say and what do people think and all that stuff. Yeah. If I get caught in a lie, I would rather fess up to the lie than just completely ignore it and keep denying it.
Yes. Yes.
Just get it over with. It'll pass. Everything will go back to normal, I promise. But at that moment, it feels like, oh my God, sink or swim. I'm going to either die or survive another day. And you just carry that stuff with you. It's mental baggage.
Yes,
and, I've made it a point a long time ago, and it still even affects me sometimes, but I don't want anybody to live in my head rent-free, right? If you're going to be in my head, pay some damn rent.
Right. Yeah. And that's a beautiful way to end. We can always chat. This hour always goes by so quickly.
Oh, this was an hour? See? Okay, so this is good.
Or maybe not. Maybe we can chat a bit longer. Actually, I think we started a bit later. Anyway, what I'm thinking, I just want to tell you what I'm thinking. A lot of times we judge others and we're afraid that others judge us because we're judging ourselves all the time anyway. So if you're walking down the street and you judge yourself and you think, oh, I look so ugly today, or, oh, I'm so sad, it's probably easier. If you're so sad, then you'll walk around being sad. You'll look dejected and no one will smile at you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then you'll think, oh, that person doesn't like me because they're not smiling at me.
Yeah,
whereas if you go down the street and you're up and excited and you smile at everybody, everyone will smile at you as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's contagious.
Right? And then it's like,
it.
whoa, I'm such an awesome person. Meanwhile, it's you that's putting out all the vibes.
Always is, always will be. But listen, this is what I wanted to do, is I wanted to look at all the viewers, everybody watching, everybody who's watched the last episode. Thank you very much. What it tells me with the extra participation and the comments, which I love, by the way. You have no idea, but it's just, it means like I'm touching somebody. And so that for me personally is important. But the viewership has gone up. Right. And I love that. It means that our interactions are authentic, they're sincere, and they are connecting with people who are starting to trust us and the message. And I think that's really cool. So anybody who's viewing this, let's just try this, because actually I'm very curious too, because this is a new medium for me. But share it with one person. Everybody watching. So we have almost 100 views for the prior episode. If 100 people just shared it with one other person, that means that we go to 200, and so on and so on. I just want to see if we could do it. I mean, little hurdles that, you know, are always going to be part of me. And this is one of these that I wanted to share with you and your audience, because I think it's really cool what we're doing. We're touching on things that are sometimes not so obvious things, but then when you think about it or you listen to us, you maybe start opening up your mind to a completely different world, right?
Yes, I love that.
And I think that's cool.
It's very cool. So yes, please like, share, subscribe, and share it with everybody. This is really awesome stuff. And remember, we've still got Dino walking around. We've got our little Dino walking around.
I saw it last week.
That's cool, right? Isn't it cool?
Yeah, it is.
Please tell us where he is. And we've got some super, super exciting surprises for you. So look for him. He's really, really cute. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks. So like, share, subscribe, share with your friends, have a party. Wow, you know what? Get some popcorn and watch it together with your family. It's all good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dino. I always love this time. Thank you.
Too.
See you. Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on this week's adventure, and I look forward to seeing you again. Please comment, like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you thought this was amazing. Remember, if you need any additional resources, just check them out in the description box below. Have an amazing week, and we'll see you again next week. Thanks again. Bye for now.